you've spent some time investigating these syndicates. You've worked with informants, you've got footage, you've got interviews. Some of the footage is absolutely shocking. As you see it, many of those who are involved, the foot soldiers now, are often themselves trafficked, are often themselves victims.
Mm. Yeah, well, Bogan, it's an all-consuming system, and very few, are able to live through this entire networked operations for many years. Many of these men, they enter as young boys, being brought to South Africa under the ruse, recruited often by force. And being made to understand that they're going to become, making money in South Africa, working on a mine, and it's everything but what they are being told. Absolutely.
How did you meet some of the informants that you work with, and what do they tell you, I suppose, about the scale of the misery that this comes with? Death, murder, suicide at times, and of course, corruption.
Yeah. So Bongani, I mean, obviously after I left the Hawks just in 2011, just really trying to keep your ear on the ground and involved in court testimony and in sex trafficking cases specifically. And you often follow conversations and hints, and you show up where very few people are willing to go and have conversations with these guys. So one of these that we're probably referring to now is a gentleman that called me. I was in Cape Town, and he said his conscience is bothering him. He himself is a trafficker, and he takes weekly trips to Mozambique together with 2 or 3 other taxis, bringing in per week about 60 young men, often as young as 15. And just kind of comprehensively, in very granular detail, explaining how these operations go. And many of these people, they want to come forward with information. Many of them offer themselves to become agents of the police because of the egregious nature of what they see. And unfortunately, these opportunities fall through the cracks.
What do they see?
Well, yeah, so it just starts with people ignorant and misinformed and deceived in terms of what they're getting themselves into. And I'll just use one example of boys being taken to mines in the Welkom area, murder, suicide, people dying of sepsis, sex trafficking, women being lowered into these mines. Obviously people staying under these cavities for extended periods of time, and only after you basically survive for 2 years, you are really then only starting to climb the ranks, where you might, be given a firearm, more drugs, etc. So it's a vicious cycle. And the experiences of corruption is very, very unsettling as well. Local mortuary being implicated, being paid to come and pick up the bodies that are not able to be carried out of the exit of the mine. They are being thrown into a very specific mining shaft. And you may have heard the conversation I had with this one informant, and he says, well, this one mining shaft, I mean, they've used it for months, if not years, to throw dead bodies in, and it's busy being filled to the brim. Also death as a result of what they call, the word they use is mbahura, meaning it's underground, something like seismic, very hot winds, and you might have a wind coming through the mines, and at once 30, 40 people dying just because of those winds, gas. It's just horrible situations underground.
And of course, they're part of an extensive criminal value chain worth significant amounts of money.
Yep, absolutely. And I think, and this is a thing when we work and we talk with government officials, there's sometimes this historic amnesia that comes up. I mean, so much of this has been reported to human trafficking task teams. I mean, just the Free State New Age had a comprehensive expose in 2017, I think, where they implicate police officials, prosecutors, private security firms. The one interview I did with a gentleman referred to a very well-known politician in the Free State, who's pocketing money from these illegal, illicit operations. And the questions we should be asking, Bongani, is what is this money funding elsewhere on the continent? I mean, other information that we've had over the years, of terror activities and terror funding. Now, I'm not drawing a direct nexus at this stage between the illicit mining, etc., but there's so many unturned stones. And if you think about it, if you see the videos of the firearms and the weaponry that these guys have, where do they get this,
So they are vested, because one of the things that's emerging now is how communities say they've been at the mercy and being really terrorized by these syndicates and these criminal gangs. And so you're saying there are vested interests very higher up the chain who basically make sure that police, whoever would be dealing with this, look the other way.
Absolutely. And there are people in official capacities that are creating the enabling environment for this to perpetuate. There's absolutely no doubt about that, Bongani. There's lots of money to be made here. And unfortunately, and I mean, seeing this footage on TV is very disconcerting. And I mean, people are desperate, people go missing. Children, women go missing. And there's definitely, over the years working with this stuff, there's a clear nexus between some of these groups and these, collateral criminal activities. But official complicity, absolutely.
702.
More than a radio station.
Let's walk the talk.